Wait, what if everything you've been hearing lately is only the beginning? Because right now, people are starting to talk. Not just random people, friends, insiders, people who were actually there. And what I just found in my inbox? Yeah, I was not expecting that. Hey guys, welcome back. So remember when I told you that people were starting to come out of the woodwork? Yeah, it's happening. After I uploaded my last video, I checked my Instagram messages, went into the hidden requests, and there it was, a name I instantly recognized. Someone connected to the Duggars, someone who used to be close to them, and apparently they've wanted to talk to me for years. But they only decided to speak now after everything that's been happening with Kendra and Joe. And the reason? Because they were actually close to them. They knew Kendra, they knew Joy, they were part of that entire circle. In fact, their family was one of the many that moved to Northwest Arkansas. And if you know anything about that move, you already know it wasn't random. Jim Bob was building something, a network, a community. Or, as many people now describe it, something much deeper than that. Families were encouraged to relocate, buy cheap land, settle nearby. The idea was simple. Keep everything within the circle. Marriages, friendships, lifestyle. A controlled environment where everyone stayed connected, where children would grow up, marry within the same group, and continue the cycle. And while it may have looked like a wholesome community from the outside, behind the scenes, it was a lot more calculated. But today, we're focusing on two major things: Kendra, Joy, and something that honestly shocked me, the door locks. At their peak, the Duggars were everywhere. Huge audience, massive attention. But things started to fall apart after the truth about Josh Duggar came out. Once the reports were exposed, everything changed. The scandals, the media coverage, the damage control. It forced a shift. That's when the show transitioned into Counting On, now focusing on the older kids, their relationships, and their marriages. And suddenly, the spotlight wasn't just on the parents anymore. The kids became the main attraction. And with that came money.
A lot of it. Weddings, babies, storylines, all of it became part of the formula to keep things going. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. By 2019, there was pressure, a big one, with investigations surrounding Josh, because yes, he wasn't just waiting for relationships to happen naturally. He was actively involved, approaching families, especially those with multiple daughters, offering them something that sounded like an opportunity, a better life, financial stability, access to the show, travel, comfort, everything they may not have had before. But there was a catch: control. Because according to this source, marriages only happened if he believed he could influence the family.
If he couldn't control the father, the match wouldn't happen. Simple as that. And over time, he became even more selective, which led to several relationships being described as arranged. Around this same time, many of these families were deeply involved in church life. Constant events, gatherings, social circles. It didn't feel forced. It felt like friendship. And that's how it usually starts, because people don't realize they're stepping into something deeper. They just think they've found community. That's where my source became close to Kendra. And according to them, Kendra was the person everyone trusted. Easy to talk to, kind, nurturing. Someone who naturally took on that big sister role. She was close to her family, especially her mom, and she shared everything. Maybe a little too much sometimes. Because while she was warm and social, she also had a tendency to pass along what she heard.
But everything shifted after marriage. Now here's where things get interesting, because something people have questioned for years apparently has an answer. Joy and Kendra were both in relationships at the same time, but the timeline we saw publicly, it wasn't exactly how things happened. According to the source, there was overlap, and more importantly,
Joy was already pregnant before the wedding. They claim it happened while she and Austin were spending time alone working on their home. And when that happened, everything sped up, fast. The wedding was arranged within weeks. The goal? Make it appear normal. So when the baby arrived, it could be explained as early or a honeymoon pregnancy. And within their circle, people knew. It wasn't a secret. But the biggest revelation? Kendra's health. Because for a long time, people have been asking, what's going on with her? According to the source, it started after her first pregnancy. Severe sickness, constant nausea, and then after giving birth, a diagnosis. Hashimoto's, a form of hypothyroidism, along with severe anemia. And from that point on, things only got worse. Because instead of recovery, there was pressure, no proper rest, inconsistent treatment, and according to the source, very little support, which is critical because this condition affects everything: energy, mood, memory, even basic physical strength. Without proper treatment, it can spiral. And people close to her believe that's exactly what's happening. That many of the symptoms people notice, the exhaustion, confusion, lack of energy, are directly connected to untreated health issues. And then there's this, something that honestly changes how you look at everything. The door locks. When I asked about it, the answer was immediate. Yes, they existed, but not the way you'd expect. They weren't on the handles. They were placed high on the doors, locked from the outside. Why? Naps. Kids would be locked in their rooms. So they couldn't come out. And according to the source, it wasn't just one household, it was common. The reasoning? Control, convenience, and avoiding the effort of constant supervision. And they claim this practice originally came from Josh and Anna before spreading to others, including Joe and Kendra and Joy and Austin. And in their words, it all comes back to the same issue: lack of real parenting, lack of preparation, and a cycle of behavior learned over time. At the end of the day, every single part of this story points back to one thing: control. Control over relationships, control over decisions, control over lives. And what I've shared today, that's only part of it.
Because there is a lot more. And trust me, it gets deeper. So tell me what you think in the comments below. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next part, you're not ready for it.